Hello and welcome to the Friday, January 31st, 2025 edition of the SANS and Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and I'm recording from Jacksonville, Florida. In today's diaries, we have a deep dive by David Watson, one of our undergraduate interns, into an older Netgear vulnerability, good old DGN 2200 V1 and DGN 1000 versions. These routers are no longer supported, but what's always surprising is how many attacks we're seeing for these particular vulnerabilities. So David took a closer look and actually did a real nice deep dive into these vulnerabilities, how they exactly work and how they are being exploited. Real neat here, even though the vulnerability itself, of course, is well known, still it's out there and a good reminder. Keep patching your routers. As I always say, once a month, put a note in your calendar, check if your router firmware is up to date. And yes, the real big problem here is that some of these devices are end of life. And that's sometimes actually real difficult to detect or even realize that your device no longer receives any updates. That's hopefully one of the things that this new cyber security label that's supposed to come out is going to fix, because as part of that specification, routers are supposed to provide basically some kind of end-of-life date and indicator when the router will no longer be updated. And VMware patched 5 different vulnerabilities in VMware area operations as well as area operations for logs. The CVE numbers of some of them may be a little bit on the low side. In particular, one that's a broken access control vulnerability that does allow a normal user to execute commands as an administrator only has a 4.3. The highest CVSS score actually here is an information disclosure vulnerability, and that has a CVSS score of 8.5. Would certainly recommend patching it, given some of the history with attackers targeting some of these VMware products. But at this point, there is no known exploit available, and the vulnerability was reported internally, so it's not already being exploited. And yes, we also have vulnerable security tools again. This time it's at least not the big enterprise one, but an open source one. So I'll give them a little bit a pass here. NetAlert X suffers from an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability. This particular tool is often used as a Wi-Fi intrusion detection system. So trying to figure out users that are scanning or trying to penetrate your Wi-Fi network. There are lots of details available about this vulnerability, so it's certainly exploitable. No exploit seen in the wild yet, as far as I'm aware of. It also comes with an unauthenticated file read vulnerability that's being leveraged here. Definitely something that you do want to patch, in particular, given that this particular product is somewhat exposed in its role as a wireless IDS. And Canon released an update for its laser printers and small office multifunction printers, fixing 3 different vulnerabilities with a CVSS score of 9.8, some of them leading to unauthenticated remote code execution. What does save the day here a little bit is that this is not necessarily something that's easily exploited sort of remotely. These printers are typically not exposed to the internet. So interesting vulnerabilities, however, like for example, in TIFF data EXIF tag processing. I could see where maybe this being exploited by tricking the victim into printing a malicious document. Have to look a little bit closer at some of these vulnerabilities, but I think there are some neat sort of unique exploit opportunities here with these vulnerabilities. And well, then in closing, we do have an other AI-related story, but it's really more a story about if you're developing new tools, you still have to worry about old vulnerabilities and, well, essentially good old known best practices. Wiz Research uncovered and exposed a Deepseek database. Deepseek, of course, has caused a lot of news this week. In this particular case, there is a ClickHouse database, ClickHouse being one of those NoSQL style databases. It's an open source database that they left completely exposed. And this database apparently was used to also store users' chat history. So essentially prior queries to Deepseek and lots of additional details were able to be recovered from this database. This is really a flaw that's not at all related to AI. It's something that we had for years and years with similar database, whether it's MongoDB, whether it's S3 buckets, it's all the same thing. Don't leave your crap exposed to the internet. And with that, thanks again for listening and talk to you again on Monday. Bye.